I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is January the 18th, 2015. My home group is the One Day at a Time group. We meet every day at 7 a.m. in Delray Beach at Crossroads. And my name is Shari. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you, JR. I heard you did phenomenal. And you could do the 12-step tonight if you want to finish this up. You're good? Okay. JR stepped in for me last week at a family wedding to go to in Jersey, and then I came home to the flu or COVID or something. I don't know, but it was not fun. It was not a fun week for me. You know, it was not a fun week for me, but I'm grateful I'm better and I'm here, and I'm going to miss you guys. This has been an incredible, incredible journey going through these steps with you guys, and having you hear my journey through the steps. The 12th step is, you know, for me, I mean, obviously the first step for me, surrendering, was very important. Figuring out and believing that I was insane and that no human power was going to relieve me of my alcoholism and that God could restore me to sanity, that was so important. You know, turning my will and my life over to God, they're all important, but without 12, I would not be standing here today. I would not be standing here today. You know, when I first came in, 95 to 2001, my 6.5 years of sobriety, you know, during that time, I remember I was going to like the 441 club in Margate or something. I had moved back to Florida for like the third or fourth time. And, you know, I told you guys, like, I had actually a sponsor, but she was like really cool. Like, she smoked weed, she had dogs, you know, she's really, really cool lady. And like, I remember this desperate, dying girl walked in and she goes, "You need to sponsor her." And all I kept thinking was, I've never even gone through the book. Like, I don't, what do I have that this girl's gonna want, right? Like, so I tried to like promote the program to her for a while, and I feel like the last 12, 13 weeks, I've really been driving home to you guys, like, becoming attractive and being attractive so that, and I'm not talking about like the Gucci belt, the blown out hair, the makeup, the jewelry, anything on the outside, right? I'm talking about the light that exudes from us, right? That we have this light that comes out, that we are to be the light, so that we're that beacon of hope, the lighthouse for the lost ship, you know. And I can't imagine that I was exuding any type of light. This was in like 1998, and I was like 3.5, 4 years into my sobriety, and like going out in South Beach, drinking like non-alcoholic drinks out of a wine glass and staying out till 6 a.m, like thinking I would, like teetering on that tightrope, right? Like any minute. And I remember like the girl calling me, like the third time she called me, "So when are we gonna go through this book?" And I actually had to like tell her, like, I don't know, can you find somebody else to take you through the book? Like, I'll still be your sponsor. You know, I was so delusional. I had no idea what it meant to be a sponsor. I had no idea what it meant to even practice these principles in all my affairs. I had no clue, you know. And when I came back, as desperate as the dying could be, like that girl was, I remember looking at the steps and just saying, like, how am I going to do this? You know, and then it came time to me sponsoring, and I was like, how am I going to do this? You know, and that's where good sponsorship comes in, is because I always have my sponsor. If I have an issue, you know, my sponsor just ran into us at the diner, and she pointed at my sponsee, and she was like, "Oh, you're the walker." Like, she, you know, if she doesn't know what's going on with my sponsees, because I'm not talking to her about what's going on and getting advice from her on how to handle certain situations that I don't know how to handle, then, you know, what's the point in have that lineage, right? So there's several things in this book that I want to talk to you about. You know, number one, what I didn't realize back then was that I was this AA thief, I like to say. You know, I was just taking whatever I could find from AA, like whatever it was, the fellowship, the camaraderie, everything just to keep me sober, and that just will never be enough. And there's several times in this book that Bill suggests over and over again that you must sponsor. And I talked about there's 82 musts in this book last time I was here, right? And one of them is, and it may not, and some of them say must, some of them just allude to must. But right here in the doctor's opinion, as part of his rehabilitation, he commenced to present his conceptions to other alcoholics, impressing upon them that they must do likewise with still others. Must. If I'm not passing this on, I'm going to die. And I can promise you that, because some days my sponsees are the ones keeping me on the beam. They're the only ones. I know there's God and I always go to God, but there are some days I'm such a pity party, I don't want to go to God. And I'm really upset, and I'm really sad, and I'm all in self, and my phone will ring. And Samantha's got an issue, and I have to pick up the phone. Because I have a duty to give this back. What was so freely given to me. Cost $1 in the basket on a good day. You know, and it's not mandatory. When I didn't have it, they didn't expect it. But I show up, right? And so, you know, you go on to Bill's story, right? And it says, faith without works is dead, he said, and how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. Fact, Frankie, right? Fact. You know, I know people who I talk to, and they're like, and it makes me sad to hear, yeah, no, I'm not sponsoring, that's not for me. Because that's what I used to say. Until I said, AA is not for me. And then I started working everything backwards. I wasn't meditating anymore. I wasn't making amends on a daily basis to God, myself, and another human. I wasn't making amends at all in 9. 8, I didn't think I owed anybody an amends. 7, I had 0 humility. 6, I had no character defects. It was all you, not me. 5, I was keeping all my secrets to myself. I was telling no one. 4, I wasn't even thinking about an inventory anymore. And 3, I already had stopped relying on God through the last 8. And now I'm back to being insane. And before you know it, I'm no longer powerless over alcohol. And my life isn't unmanageable. You're unmanageable in my life. So bye. That's exactly what happened to me on September 30th of 2001. I said, I don't have a problem with alcohol. My problem is drugs, and I'm just gonna see how these 2 drinks go. 2 drinks that lasted me 14 years out there. 14 years. You know, and by the grace of God, I came back and made it back, crawling on my hands and knees with a lot of pain. And I thank God for every single day of those 14 years, because I needed all that pain to change. I was never going to change without the pain. And I used to think, you know, how can I help someone? Well, there's another woman, or even a man, but mostly women. There's another woman out there for me that is in the same pain that I was in. You know, and I'm very big on my suggestions that I give my sponsees with a wink, right? I always have a wink after my suggestion. Like, I will never make you do anything you don't want to do. However, I have one recipe. This is my recipe. This is what I did when I walked in these rooms. And this is what I'm heavily suggesting to you with 82 musts in the big book. Heavily suggesting to you that you do because you chose me to sponsor you. So you must want some of the light that I'm exuding. So why wouldn't you take my suggestion? Right? And if and sometimes I say, well, maybe I'm not the one for you. And it's sad, and I have to, find somebody else for them that they can hear better, and that's okay. I learned very, very, I used to cry to Tommy. Tommy, if you don't remember, he was the first guy who took me through the book, and we started a big book study at my house, and when I started sponsoring and my sponsees would relapse, I would cry to him and Big Book George, and I would say, oh my God, I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing this right. I don't know what I'm doing. And they would say, you think you have that much power? You think you're God? And you put the drink or the needle or the straw or whatever they're doing in the pipe in their hand? You think you have that much power? You got a lot to learn, honey. And Tommy would say, I don't get anyone sober. I don't keep anyone sober because that's God's job. And you know what? I just heard the best thing in the world last week, and I'm going to use it, and I love it. Why would I want to step on God's toes? Why would I want to step on God's toes? God's got everything. Even my sponsees. My job as a sponsor is to take them through a book which contains the 12 steps and put their hand in God's and teach them how to live this life and show them how to pass it on. I always tell my sponsees when they're getting their first sponsee, listen, just ask them the two very important questions, right? Are they done? And are they willing to go to any lengths? If they can satisfactorily answer yes to that, get started with the book. If you have questions, I'm always here. But all that stuff I sat and made you highlight and take notes, that's all the stuff you're going to make them highlight and take notes, right? It's that simple with them, And, they talk about it in... Here's another one. Hold on. I want to read this part. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depend upon our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs. How many times it's gotten me out of self, I can't even tell you, so many times. And then you go on at the end of In Action, and it says, we alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. But this is not all. There is action and more action. Faith without works is dead. There it is again. And it says the next chapter is entirely devoted to step 3. Well, I don't know, but Into Action covered I don't even know how many steps. 5 through 10. But here they have an entire chapter devoted to working with others. A whole chapter. And it says this is our 12th suggestion. Again, there they go with the suggestions. Mine have winks. They should have winks. Carry this message to other alcoholics. How do I carry this message? So here comes practicing the principles in all our affairs, right? So how can I carry a message if I'm not practicing these principles in all my affairs? If I'm not acting and representing AA in a good light, in a good fashion, who's gonna want to be that way, right? Somebody in sobriety, maybe. I know I was that way. I didn't care. I had a sponsor who was still using dry goods and, telling me to sponsor another girl knowing I was crazy. So, and here's what you get, right? So you get this psychic change, 1 through 11, right? You get this beautiful psychic change. You start to think differently, feel differently, act differently. And you're not perfect at it, but you're doing it enough that you're doing it more than when you weren't doing it at all, right? And life is really, really getting better. And you're on this beautiful pink cloud, and you're having a great time of it, and something smacks you in the head one day. You just get this bad day, right? Those are the days. Those are the days that intensive work with another alcoholic, right? Those are the low spots they talk about. So now you start sponsoring. And it says right here on the first page of Working with Others, life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. I'm getting emotional because the best part about me sponsoring is when I have a newcomer walk in the room and they're so desperate and crying, and I remember myself how desperate and crying I thought life was over. I had no idea that life was going to take on new meaning. I had no idea what you guys had for me. No clue. I just knew I didn't want to be in pain anymore. I didn't want to live anymore, and I didn't know how to kill myself, and I just didn't want to be in pain anymore. So the best part of my sponsoring is when I look at these sponsees and they come in crying, and then one day, maybe like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I'm working with them, and all of a sudden I look across the room and they're talking to other people in the room and they have this gigantic smile on their face. And they're screaming hope. They have hope. And I know if they could just hang on to that hope and that feeling, right? Like I did. You know, I love my acronyms. Hang on, pain ends, right? That's what it is. Just hang on. You gotta hang on, sometimes by your fingernails. And I did for a long time. 2.5 years I hung on by my fingernails because that's how long it took me to get through these steps. 5 sponsors, several people, my own procrastination, sitting on a 4th step for 6 months. I did it to myself. I know I did. But 2.5 years, I was in so much pain. I was hanging on by my fingernails. Stevie always talks about hanging in there. That was me. I was just always hanging in there. You know? And I remember when I got my first sponsee through the book and through the 12 steps, and she was 90 days sober. She was so willing. She finished in 90 days. And she said, nobody's going to want what I have with 90 days. I said, the girl walking in the room, desperate, crying, with 1 day is going to want your 90 days. You go help her. I said, you just keep doing service until you keep getting just over and over and over again. You know, there are also a couple of other things I've learned through this step is that, you know, not only do I not make them drink and that I don't get them sober or keep them sober, but I can't, if they're drinking, then they're just going to drink, my sponsees. You know, that's just a choice that they made. And if they don't want to stop drinking, I can't waste my time. Because there is a girl or a guy who is desperate enough and crying. And it says it right here, if he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him. I've wasted so much time trying to persuade people. Attraction, not promotion. Move on. I say thank you next. Next person who really wants this and wants to take suggestions and wants to stop. God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, they talk about in working with others how you approach a man and speak to him of alcoholism as an illness, a fatal malady. fatal malady, guys, this is life and death. The statistics are not getting better. They're really not. I mean, I just had a friend, I think she's like 15 years younger than me. So she's like 40. Just had a liver transplant. Like 40 years old. And was like dying of alcoholic cirrhosis for like 8 years. 32 years old, started with alcoholic cirrhosis. Like, you know, everybody thinks it's the drugs that are gonna get us. Let me tell you something. It is lethal, fatal malady. And if you're not drinking, but you're not doing the steps, that's a fatal malady. Sobriety will kill you. It won't just bring you back to a drink, it will bring you back to wanting to kill yourself. If you're lucky, exactly. You know, I can't drive home enough how important sponsorship is. And I can't push my way on my sponsees. It's not, you know, many of them come in, they don't believe in God, they can't get the God concept. For me, it took a long time. I mean, Stevie could tell you, it took not only just me finding a God of my understanding, then I found Jesus. And that was a whole nother game changer for me. And I'm not telling you to go out and find Jesus. This is just for me. But, they talk about, doing more in your morning meditation. And I talked last time about my morning devotion. I read my Bible every morning, and that just catapulted me into more spirituality, learning more and just getting closer and closer to God. And then I just can't not see the evidence that's placed before me all the time. All the time. I was reading a part of the Bible I think it was this morning, and they were talking about Judas and when he gave up Jesus, and they were saying he said his name 3 times. And now he realized, right? And how many times that's happened to me over and over and over again, where I say that couldn't have been anything else but God. Right? So I have this beautiful, beautiful God that saved me. And he only saved me so that I can help his kids. And I don't know if I told this story within my STEP series. I know I told it last time. I'm going to tell it again. It was around the time that I just finished sponsoring or just had gotten my first sponsee through all of her steps. And I think I did tell this story, but I have to tell it again because it's so important to me. And it was really the point of my spiritual awakening. And it was this whole spiritual experience and a spiritual awakening. And my daughter went to a very expensive sleepaway camp because my parents used to like to send her away for the summer away from me because I was so brutal to her, and they felt bad for her. And they all would collect money, the whole family, and send her to this really, really expensive New York State Catskill Mountain sleepaway camp, right? Oi, yeah. Really, all the doctors and lawyers from Long Island, Stevie's neck of the woods, they all sent their kids to this camp, right? And so, by the way, Christiane, I got to show my husband Coney Island last week. That's pretty cool, right? I just want to tell you that. I just thought about that. And he had Brooklyn pizza for the first time. Just saying. I know you guys would like that. He's hooked, by the way. We'll be spending a lot of time in New York. Anyway, my daughter goes to sleepaway camp, right? And it's real foo-foo. And every parent's visiting day, which was one day the whole summer, from 10 to 6, you got to see your kid, and you brought them all kinds of stuff from home. And they were so happy because they didn't have their stuff from home, their candy and their cookies and, Nana's baked ziti and everything, right? Her magic cookie bars. My mom would go with shopping bags, we'd running up the hill to see her. I'd be trying to keep up with the Joneses, like all the time, because I felt like I didn't fit in, which I probably didn't fit in, because I was like a poor, struggling single mother. But anyhow, she had a lot of these friends also were from Florida, some of them, and the girl slept over, one of them had a sleepover during the year, and I went to take her home. And I'm talking to the dad on the driveway, who's got 2 beautiful German cars in the driveway, a gated community, all the things that I didn't have, right? My material things, right? That I thought would make me who I am today. And it's so funny. Like, I look back and I laugh at myself, the thoughts I had of what was like right. And, you know, we're playing like Facebook Jewish geography. How do you know this one? How do you know that one? Right? Like, and he's telling me, well, I went to college with this guy, and oh, she was my wife's sorority sister. And I'm like, oh, yeah, and I'm in business with this guy, and I went to graduate school with this guy. Oh, you know him? And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, great. All right. You know, that's cool. We know the same people. Oh, yeah. And I leave, and I get in the car with my daughter, and I'm driving home, and I swear I get to the light on the corner of my house, and I got Godsmacked, and I'm having all these thoughts driving home. If I wasn't an alcoholic, I'd have 2 German cars in the driveway. If my sister didn't beat me up as a child, and she didn't torture my life, I wouldn't be an alcoholic. I didn't go to graduate school. I didn't even get my bachelor's yet. It took me till I was 33 to even finish my associates. Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm horrible. And at that very moment, this loud God voice was in my head. And I'm sure it was my voice, but it was God putting the words in my head. And he said to me, he said, Shari, what you have is more than money can ever buy. What you have that I've given you is purpose. Purpose. I'm trying to play the cello in 4th grade to get purpose. Dragging it home from school at 38 pounds and trying to play softball and can't even catch 1 ball. Because I don't know sports, I don't know music, I don't know this, I don't know that. My pity party my whole life. And now he's telling me I have purpose. He said there's a huge war out there, and I can't fight it alone. I need soldiers for my army on this war on alcoholism and drug addiction. And I need your help. I've put you on my team of soldiers to help my kids who are dying out there. You don't need 2 cars in the driveway that have fancy names. You don't need to go to graduate school for this. And then he reminded me, did you see the light come on in that girl's eyes when she finished her steps, and how happy she is that she gets to sponsor that girl, by the way, now. I think is celebrating 10 years this year, by the way. Right now, or 9, something like that. I ran into her not too long ago. I stopped sponsoring her at like year 2, but like her year 2. But you know, it was at that very moment that last 9-step promise of me not regretting the past nor wishing to shut the door on it came true. And I realized at that very moment that nothing else mattered, nothing that happened to me in my life. That my job solely is to work for God and to act according to His will. Practice these principles in all my affairs. Go out and look for people who need help if they're not coming to you. Raise your hand in a meeting. Constantly put yourself last and those first. And this work, you know, they talk about how they say in the book, and I'm not going to look for it now because I have no clue what page it's on. I think it's in the doctor's opinion about this. Let this be every moment of your sleeping. Rachel, quick.
I'm not following you.
of your. Let this work. Like take up so much of your time. I have to find it now. It is in the doctor's opinion, right? Thank you. I knew I wasn't crazy. Maybe a little. He said, for any of those who doubt us, stand on the firing lines. That part. All right, give me a minute. I'm going to find it because it's so important to read. Oh, if any feel that as psychiatrists directing a hospital for alcoholics, we appear somewhat sentimental, let them stand with us a while on the firing line. See the tragedies, the despairing wives, the little children. Let the solving of these problems become a part of their daily work and even of their sleeping moments. And the most cynical will not wonder that we have accepted and encouraged this movement. This has to become a part of my daily work, helping others. And sometimes it takes me away from my family, a lot of the times. Every Sunday night I'm here to speak because I want to give service and I want to share my experience, strength, and hope. You know, a lot of the times I don't feel like it. Or I have a sponsee coming over to read the book and I'm tired. And I just worked all day and then I worked my second job after work a little bit. And now I have to sit and meet with them. But you know what? He's given me so much. How dare I not show up and give back? You know, in A Vision for You, it says, this is an experience that we must not miss. I'll read that part to you, okay? Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. If you've done 1 through 11, your own house is in order. The answers of what you can do to help others will come. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. This is a fact, they're telling me, that this is what great events will come to pass for me and countless others. And all I have to do is put my hand out, like you all did for me. I'm going to leave you with my favorite reading. It's near and dear to my heart. And this will tell you exactly why each and every one of you are sitting here today. Remember, many are called, few are chosen. If you hold on to your seat long enough, you will be chosen. You just got to hold on to your seat. God in his wisdom selected this group of men and women to be purveyors of his goodness. In selecting them through whom to bring about this phenomenon, he went not to the proud, the mighty, the famous, or the brilliant. He went instead to the humble, to the sick, to the unfortunate. He went right to the drunkard, the so-called weakling of the world. Well, might he have said the following words to us? Unto your weak and feeble hands, I have entrusted a power beyond estimate. To you has been given that which has been denied the most learned of your fellows. Not to scientists or statesmen, not to wives or mothers, not even to my priests or ministers, have I given this gift of healing other alcoholics, which I entrust to you. It must be used unselfishly. It carries with it grave responsibility. No day can be too long. No demands upon your time can be too urgent. No case can be too pitiful. No task too hard. No effort too great. It must be used with tolerance, for I have restricted its application to no race, no creed, and no denomination. Personal criticism you must expect. Lack of appreciation will be common. Ridicule will be your lot. Your motives will be misjudged. You must be prepared for adversity, for what men call adversity is the ladder you must use to ascend the rungs towards spiritual perfection. And remember, in the exercise of this power, I shall not exact from you beyond your capabilities. You are not selected because of exceptional talents, and be careful always, if success attends your efforts, not to ascribe to personal superiority that to which you can lay claim only by virtue of my gift. If I had wanted learned men to accomplish this mission, this power would have been entrusted to the physician and the scientist. If I had wanted eloquent men, there would have been many anxious for the assignment. For talk is the easiest used of all talents with which I have endowed mankind. If I had wanted scholarly men, the world is filled with better qualified men than you who would be available. You are selected because you have been the outcasts of the world. And your long experience as drunkards has made or should make you humbly alert to the cries of distress that come from the lonely hearts of alcoholics everywhere. Keep ever in mind the admission you made on the day of your profession in AA, namely, that you are powerless and that it was only with your willingness to turn your life and will unto my keeping that relief came to you. Thank you for this last minute.
Recovery inspiration is sitting right there waiting for you. Rocketed.org AA speaker recordings brings real voices and real stories straight to your ears. Subscribe now so you never miss a new recording dropping. Keep that motivation on tap and help spread the word. Hit subscribe and let recovery find you every single day.